Dear friends, we have some announcement regarding personal belongings because it seems like many people are using their identity, ID cards, bank credit cards. So I will mention a few names, and if you know these people, can I ask for attention, please? Dear friends, can I ask for attention? Oh, I think one person is already found. Thank you. Thank you. So another person, Thomas Jager, if you're here or if you know him.
Tamjin Jimboy Loin Chan Soy Loin Den Rai San Chum Den 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 Dishin Sheban Da Jumba Yang Da Ban Sobe San Je Rik Ban Dan Shab Su Den Ban Devrai Sheban Jidin Kyun Dulven Kaloin Jirwai Lanai Me Bai Lanai Me Nam Jin Den Bai San Jin Chum Den De Soy Dishin Shek Bai Den Sonam Dagen Jidem Ban Given Zawan Nam Chumi Zawan Sebain Dagi Rabdoin Jemboy Sonam Jidir Nam Jishin Bej Jimboin Sen Nam Jemedoin Jebain Chiyurim Barain Tumbain Tonai Midim Bain Mebain Tibi Mebain Namlain Umbrain Gawai Shirai Ziljamin Tonam Lain Ziwai Mebai Simjian Tamji Jian Tembai Changjo Simbai Namji Yan Pabi Kansai Namgi Jam Nyangin Len Deben Tongjiren Doin Dowai Namgi Deben Ishian Padoi Mebai Pobai Samji Michap Song Nam Brian Dawa Yang Nian Bai Kujian Da Yuan Chou Mi Xie Bai Ku Song Bai Me Bai De Bai Da Ge Ma Ge Bai Zun Da Ge Nye Rai Ma Ge Zung Me Bai Da Da Ma Jem Bai Dungen Da Le Nam Brian Dolwa Pong Bai Da Le Rab Do Nam Brian Cholwa Kam Nam Da Me Dem Bai Ji Jen Dam Bai De Bai Nam Shin Doi Dungwan dalen nambran tolwai se balen tolwai chuelen kalwai ishen yongson zoba teba dan majen badan tadrai ju sanjen jomden den namge ishen la neba nyangen len deba la minne ba yang taba nigen talai neb simjen tamje la zikbe salai shukba de tidan ne sanje jomden Kuchibe yenden yandaba naim zoen dambe chine namrange wan pardoenge wan tamrange ten sambo tsido sambo manje yosoen zogba yosoen taba yosoen changwa jomden dege chelek braso yandaba towa neme ba tiche ba me ba nyevra entomba te towa la tinye Kebayan namge susur hange rigbrayan chawan chamden dege sunwen chundulwa lekbray temba ngebray jungwan zobe changchun don dovray cheba mitemba mejen diba dan dem temba yuba juway cheba uen tekbay chemboy genden ne lekbray rigbray shukba changbray shuba tembray shuba talmray Sanje we sun jowa sonam je palje shingyin yongso jongwa chenpo jimbe son jirwa kundwan jimbe niso jirwa ju chenpo sanje chodan soje chon lan chanjo bardo danen jabs Dagyen jinso jibe sonam jin tolai benjire sanje dobrai sho sanje chodan soje chonam Changjo bardo danen japsun jin dagen jinsun jibe sanam dolai benjire sanjen dobrai sho sanje chodan sojen chonam lan changjo bardo danen japsun dagen jinsun jibe sanam jin dolai benjire sanjen dobrai sho simjen damjen dewan dan deven judan tembrai Dungan dan dungel gen judan davrain jujen dungel meben dewan tamban dan mindraw chadan nidan danyam jembo lan nevrain juroin je simjen tamjen dewan dan deve judan dembrain dan dungel ge judan davrain jujen dungel meben dewan tamban dan mindraw Niren chadan nidan dawe danyum chenpo lan nebran juroin je simjen damjen dewan dan dewe judan dembran dungan dan dunga gen judan davrain jujen dunga meben dewan tamban dan mindrawan Niren chadan nidan dawe danyum chenpo lan nebran juroin je chazulwa dan chujen shaban dan jeso iran kushin Gyalwa jungsen da ge jisaban tamjen zobe janjo jengo sa je pe je jukshe me do jam rab lingshe niden jemba sanje shindo migden puwaye dogen namda shin la je brai jo simjen namge samba loye cheda chidrawa chujon timon tekbai Chije korlo korhondo so
Good afternoon. Is it a question? We don't know. Yeah. So, here we are. I was told by my English teacher not to begin something with so. He was from Glasgow. Hardly English. Still, he was trying to keep his poise, Yes. So, it's very American, I think. Yeah. So, yes, you have to remind me which verse we were in yesterday. 33rd, okay. Okay, very good. Oh. Yeah. The last line of the 32nd says, so therefore, why should we pay heed or should we listen to those that seem like friends, but nevertheless we should somehow break through that, it's not so much about friend and foe, friend or hero and villain and so on. That's not the language of the Bodhisattva's way. Instead, it's about how to differentiate. If we are beginners, then how should we go about things? If we are advanced, what would we do? That's another question, of course. Yes. If you're advanced, then the most obvious thing we can interpret, commentate, is none other than what we always see, being silent. Nothing else. So, and the 33rd or 34th, doesn't matter. We can, it's always nice to recap. So, therefore, the 33rd says, once we are on that path, the first line of the stanza or shloka, it's Actually, we are on the 34th now. One has discussed already the 33rd to a certain degree. And the 34th says in Tibetan, Njikten kunye dongjindu jizi jewu ji ne telu tene matikpa desi tene naksa song. We kind of, those 4 lines, we kind of made a ceremony of it a few months ago. Yes. You might have seen it in terms of photographs and messages and so on. And so therefore, I'm not trying to make it too dramatic. And it's also not the Shantideva's way also. But let's say we try to make it dramatic. It's kind of saying what we all think we should never ever do, you know, as a well-behaved social person and as a spiritual person on top. Suicide. Yes? We make that aspect so forbidden, you know, the greatest temptation, you know, helpline and so on. Yeah. Not that they are bad in any way. And so therefore, is it mine? Nope, it's not me. And the last line says, "This is naksu song or naktu song." And so therefore, commit partial suicide, half suicide, sort of, if you make it very, very dramatic. Yeah. Because the culture, the first line says "Njikten kunye dongjindu," you know. The local tradition, the local sort of practice is such that then we have to mourn, we have to wear black clothing or white clothing, basically dull, you know, to somehow go along with the sense on the mood of mourning, you know. There is a meaning there also, you know. Here in the noble land of Bharat, or what we commonly known for a very, very brief period as India, you know, because it was not known as in India for a long, long time. It was actually known as Bharat. We say Jagar in Tibetan. Yes, there was that practice to wear white clothing. Actually, that's more meaningful. Yeah? It means a clean slate of some kind, a blank page, you know. Once again, going back to the idea, symbolism of shunyata, yeah? But not black. Okay, you know, that also has its own beauty as well. Yeah? And so therefore, then according to that mood, that atmosphere, then what normally happens is that by the second line says the corpse is being carried, and by the third line says it's so much fuss, you know? So much fuss, over fuss about carrying that corpse. And so therefore, without all that fuss, now that I have compared my so-called living body alongside the what seems like a corpse, since we can see that there is not much difference, you know, then why make that fuss? Yeah? Of course, we have a term for that. It's to make nice. You know, it's aesthetically pleasing. Yes. We make a ceremony out of it. You know, just to go to the coffee shop. We don't know it, but it's death sentence. Because eventually it will come to the last sip. You know? Should we go for another round or not? You know? And so therefore it becomes, until the last sip, it's not philosophical, but when it comes to the last sip, it becomes very philosophical. Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting. And so therefore, let's think fresh, let's think new. What can we do, you know? Or in this case, not so much as what we, as having to become an anarchist, you know, in a literal sense, go against the regime and this and that. Not so much in an alarming way, but what can I do? Because I have a very strong sense of an I. And so, how can I think differently? How can I think fresh and renew it, or think something that is never thought of before? And so in this case saying, go to the cemetery ahead, before I'm being carried, you know, before the locals begin to shed tears and cry and howl and play all sorts of dramatic dances, you know. And so therefore, it's Shantideva being once again extremely honest. Why? Because it further goes on with the 35th. Sorry, oh yeah, it's 35th. And the number 5 is always a little bit confusing. It looks like number 4 in the common numeric order. So shime kambang mejena lunde jibu venede ngane shidan rajena shinaya nyangin jepame. And so therefore, if I carry my corpse, because we say weight, I feel heavy, I feel burdened, I feel who is this, you know, who or why are we carrying this burden? We always have that philosophical notion. And so therefore, in this case, it's in some ways probably feeling very literal, but somewhat more on the side of philosophical, being very philosophical, that I carry this corpse, I carry this weight, by postponing this corpse for later. Why do we do this, actually? Yeah. Why not carry it ahead? Why do we postpone this? Not to say this judgment day or something like that, but why do we postpone this? It's very intimate, yet it might seem very personal, invasion of privacy and so on. But in here, we don't have to worry about that because Shantideva is long dead, and so he's not here right now, breathing down our necks. We are just listening to his echoes, nothing more. Reading his diary. And so therefore, why should we carry this weight? Why should we carry this corpse? Because the result of that part of committing partial suicide, mental suicide, not physical suicide. You see, there is so much beauty in terms of we don't need to literally do it, We can talk to somebody, or we can think out loud within the space or environment of solitude. Yes. So through that, then we will not be bothered by what the society says, how lonely it is to die alone, on YouTube, through the algorithm, I get all sorts of prompting that says, Japan has a high mortality rate, and towns are being emptied, because they have no children. Okay, it may be the truth, but nevertheless, if you think through, then there is something to think about. Thank you for that prompting, Thank you to that algorithm. But is that a reason why we should have children? If it is, then it's one sorry state. One sorry way of living. Because why do we want to teach our children that they have to mourn for us, that they have to carry our corpse? And so, therefore, it says, in this wondrous, marvelous solitude, I won't be bothered by such expectations to say, you have to have children, you have to have a spouse, you have to have this and that, a car, loan, I read something about it was a fashionable thing to catch cold at some point in a certain part of the world. Yes, so that you can enjoy penicillin or paracetamol or something. The mind is amazing, Maybe it's a sales pitch, I don't know. And so therefore, if you want to be practical, it's not about creating an utopia, the perfect world, the right order, the new order, new world, or something like that. Instead, it's being very, very practical. And so, Lünde Jikbu Wenete, that's the second line. By the third, it says, Hane Shidang Dratsi means that what is the blasphemy? What is the idea of the sky may fall? If you think in this blasphemic way, by saying, I'm dead already, I'm as good as dead. Because the feeling of committing suicide, is playing the forbidden dream, yes. And so, in this case, rather than doing it literally, why can't I play this thought out? Because then I don't have to make anyone cry or feel confused. At least I can think through. This is the conditioned space that I have right now. And so I just let go. I let go of thinking that I have to survive. That I have to survive for this and for that. And so therefore, saying, I carry my corpse already before time, before tomorrow, in short, today already, now. And very easily put it in the crematorium altar. And who knows? By the fourth line, saying that who knows? Maybe I might see something different, experience something different. I have let go. By the fact that I have let go. And then by the 36th, it says, Zhongnang Khapa Sudajang Nyangen Neba Jemebe Di Sanje Jirenzo Sujang Yoran Yuame. So therefore, I have no one around me, and these howling and sniffing won't bother me, And at the same time, I will be able to, it says Sanje Jeden, meaning Tathagata. Or Sangye, of course, is a literal. Sanje Jeden is not just Sangye, but Sanje Jeten. It means recalling the ways of the enlightened ones. And so in this case, we can probably say something like Tathagata, but then it will break the order of the stanza, and so therefore it's kept as Sanje Jeden, the Jin Shekpa, known as Tathagata. That's the Tibetan version. Tathagata means something like in terms of tense, the way it was, or the way it is, in terms of present tense, or the way it will always be. Why? Because the contemporary and non-evasive term for emptiness is impermanence, changing. And so therefore, why they are Buddha or Buddha, as we say, or Buddha, Bodhi, you know. The liberating, awakening aspect of it is that they have been there, done that, as I was saying in the past. Tathagata, yes, means that they have been there, done that, basically. Yeah. In Tibetan, the retroflex, is it da? Yes. Retroflex says te, you know, as that, di as this. And so therefore, no matter how far apart we feel, in terms of language even, they are, when it comes to the basic principles, or when it comes to the basic feeling, even the sound, the noise come together, you know. This, that, te, di, you know. Not much difference actually. Yeah. And so therefore, Tejin Sherpa gone that way, you know, walked that way, treaded that way, went there, you see. Actually, it's not that difficult to break through the language. And so therefore, by being in this state of solitude, literally if we can, great, you know. In terms of, it's not saying we have to, but it will somehow, or not again will, but it's possible. The possibility is there that those spaces will come, might occur, you know, like I said very briefly, as waiting for the bus, you know. We feel that we are in orderly fashion, you know, we are going through our just way of life, that I have a profession, I have this responsibility. Some of us might feel that, you know. Some of us might be feeling something else, you know. Whichever way, whether it's cordial or not, whether it's common or not, it's possible, you know, particularly for those of us who we think that I have something going on. I have a steady job, I have a steady profession, I have a steady lifestyle, I'm in a monastic setting, I'm in a lay setting, and so on. You know, it just goes on. Yet, nevertheless, the situation will prompt, beg, or make us feel as if I'm confronted by something. Suddenly I discovered that I have a tumor. Suddenly I realized that I'm in the middle of a war. Suddenly I feel that I'm in a pandemic. Anything is possible. We just cannot predict, we cannot forecast. We can try, depend on all sorts of technologies to forecast what is going to happen. Of course, to say, in average, to be more realistic. We think that's realistic, that depending on this average, I can forecast. And so therefore, we can probably break through what the Tathagata was always saying. Yes. And so therefore it's very interesting subject. Yeah. So can I break through, and if you are dependent on this average thinking, then on a positive note, yes, actually we can break through, but it requires that we listen, or at least take some time, give some space in thinking the ways of the Bodhisattvas, or the ways that the others have ventured. And so, as part of the sadhana, as part of practice, what we do formally as Chenrezig or Guru Yoga or Hondo or anything, then we can recall jeten, as recalling or calling from afar, to put it very sentimentally. Then I have literal, in this case, possibility of acquiring those literal spaces every now and then, even in a day, I catch a cold, is that bad? I might have all the excuses to say off duty, call in sick, But during that time, what do I do? It's kind of boring, yes. And so therefore, how can I make that aspect productive? And so, in this case, we have a glimpse of solitude in a literal sense. But theoretically, by committing this partial suicide, I'm sorry that I'm bringing that term suicide again and again. But nevertheless, it cannot be helped. If we are playing with that idea, it's very possible that in this very hall, there are a number of us who may be playing with it, playing with this fire. And so therefore, theoretically, literally, if we can open our mind or open our heart, then we will realize that if we give in to that, if we embrace that, then nothing can disturb us. Or in this case, the samadhi will not be lost. Sujang inwanjuami. No force. Individual, collective, theory, natural, unnatural circumstances, none of them will be able to distract me. Yingwa means distraction, yes. And instead, I will be able to walk the same path, walk on the same path as those who have already walked. The footprints are there, Like all I have to do is just imitate, without having to feel I am a beginner. and to feel too humble. Then, with the next 37th verse says, Thaye shindu dangawe natsal tsechung de jijing yingwan tamje shijepa dani jibu nebraja. And so, in this solitude, then I should enjoy. That's what it's saying. It's not saying now I should, flog myself, Well, sometimes we may do it literally, sometimes we do it emotionally, theoretically, it's possible. Beat myself to blue, by thinking, oh, I'm so non-deserving of this gratitude, gift, this and that. And instead, now that I have shifted my focus, by the fact that I have committed partial suicide, then I can actually feel that my perspectives have changed actually, dramatically almost, I see the same thing, I see the same person, I see familiar faces, I see the same sunrise, sunset, when I was emotional, when I was delusional, when I was neurotic, yet at the same time somehow it seems different, and so therefore the feeling is as good as I am in complete solitude. And if this were to happen from time to time in a magical way, literal sense, that I'm in front of the Niagara Falls or Yosemite Sam or the Great Pyrenees or in front of the Gangas or something, then so be it, It's a bonus. It's really a bonus. And so in this, then I can enjoy, literally enjoy, that I can, it's sort of like saying, in this sense, if I dare say, have control for the first time, at least on a theoretical level, conceptual level, some sense of control. Because till now we feel like there's no control, and accordingly, the Buddha Dharma is complementing that, saying, no worry if there's no control. Now, if you feel that you have control, okay, let's go along with that too, And so, therefore, in a literal sense, then in this solitude, there is so much bliss, there is so much space, enjoyment, freedom, and by the last verse or the last line of the 37 says, I can enjoy this solitude. And so I like that image from another film. Probably some of you may have seen it, Bedazzled. It was the main protagonist, or the character, was played by the actor Brandon Fraser. Yes, towards the very, very end of the scene, you have one Theravada monk in the midst of a great crowd in the busy street of New York or something, I don't know where. Yeah? And it's fine, because, well, not because, anyway. So a lot of memes might take place with the movie Bedazzled, from the next verse, just to be warned. So therefore, literally, if you have that kind of space, great, But even if you cannot, let's say we are still stuck with my family and friends, and society, this, that. But nevertheless, I can play with this idea, although it's just a concept of control. I can sort of silence it and turn it into, because it's a consistent chatter, of expectations. It's a constant chatter. And it's not alarming, It may get louder, but whether it's loud or not, it's, in short, not subtle. And so therefore, it's not convincing enough. Right on the ears, and even if I think afterwards, this chatter is too consistent. And so therefore, I can treat it as background noise, white noise, as we say, And therefore, no matter how much of a drilling that's taking place on the asphalt road, or from the neighbor's building, or the landlord shouting, all those, basically all forms of variation. I can treat them as some sort of a background noise, which we as men can do better. And say, yes, I understand. All the while, they're thinking of the next thing. Xbox, I don't know. And so therefore, I can play with this idea of control. Not that there is actual control, but I can play with it. And therefore, then feel that somehow when I reduce and silence this chatter, this background, and treat it as a background noise, then I can feel, not feel, but extract something, yes? Extract something that is, that I never thought of actually. It's not that I know what I want. That's the point, It's not that I know what I want. But something fresh will occur in the way that I never expected. Then the next verse says, after having, Sambhajena Kundande Dala Sempa Chibui Semni Nyambarja Chedang Durvaja Che Zundeja Zumbarja Zundeja. Anyway, then as a result, after having let go, Sambhajena Kundante, as part of the first line, having let go of this fervent wish that this literal sense of control, or in this case, that thought that, well, it all comes back to that feeling of I'm here, I am bothered. I can hear things. I can hear you, and somebody is cursing at you. I can hear you. I saw that. I felt that. And so therefore we don't have to be bothered by that, and as a result, I will be able to focus on what I really want. Yeah. It's not to say I want to escape. That's not the point, of course. This is just a reminder. Yes, it's not about escapism, but instead, because we could very easily lean towards that extreme end by saying, "Oh, I want to work on my project. I want to work on myself. I want to discover myself. So therefore, please give me some peace and quiet. So please shut up." And so that could be another extreme end, which will not last long, because even the recipient of your message gets that, not maybe on the spot, but even if they are convinced, they will eventually figure out your pattern, because no one is stupid. And so they will be able to slowly figure out, you were just escaping. And so therefore, in this case, by knowing what you're doing, in a way, that it's not escapism, because at least we have to think about that, escapism. Are we really escaping? Do we really want to escape? Postponement. Yes. First thing we will discover is that it's an aspect of postponement. It's not that there is an actual place to go to, a cave or something. But we know that we are just saying later, later, later. And so, is that the case? Because in this case, I'm really being honest with myself. Am I really escaping? And so, if one is true to oneself, then one will discover that no, in this case, for the first time, I don't know what I want. For the first time, I don't know what I want. Because escapism is something I can know, I can understand. It may seem hidden for a while under the pages, under the thick, piles of books, and so many literatures, novels and fictions and philosophies and religions and so on. But in this case, I really, really, really don't know what I want. But I just want some time to think for the first time, discover something for the first time. And so therefore, through this silence or solitude, then I will be able to truly meditate for the first time. Not just to sit in a formal way, or not, if that is the extreme end, then not the other way by, having kept our legs on the table or something also, or sitting upside down, or lounge on the couch, But instead, I really want to think for the first time. I want to discover something fresh, something that I've never thought of. And by doing so, from this space, then I will be able to finally calm my mind, nyambaraja, unaltered. Calm not in a way by saying calm down, calm down, calm down, forcing, That's why I always find that waiters, I don't know whether it was in Lyon or Paris, allez-y, or s'il vous plaît, I got the message, but it's your tone, And so in this case, not in that sense, even to myself, but instead, by letting it fall, that's it, letting it fall, yes? Now that the external circumstances are somewhat silenced, we can see the dust settling, And it's not a case where we have some sense of animosity towards dust or something, but we just let the dust settle wherever it wishes to land. And then it's kind of saying, looking at the way the dust settles first, then once it seems to have settled, just observe that. Not being spaced out, but really just watching the whole process. And that's what every artist do, or what good artists to do. So then through that, the last line says, Tulvar chache Chuntecha. In this Tibetan version it says Chuntecha. No error in this, but the verse that I used to memorize from childhood says Chunparcha. Anyway, that's no biggie. So Tulvar chache Chuntecha. So Tulvar cha, and so Tulvar means kind of like direct translation of it is saying taming. Taming, as in a good horse tamer. I wanted to say something about The Horse Whisperer, the film by Robert Redford. But I didn't watch the whole film, so therefore I wouldn't be doing justice to it. I just saw clips on YouTube. I love the music though. The soundtrack is unbelievable. James Williams? Yeah, unbelievable. Same as for Star Wars, Indiana Jones. Yes, you can see my pattern. I'm not quoting Asanga, Nagarjuna. So, guilty as charged. Yeah. Showing that I'm not an example for you. But nevertheless, taming, yes. Taming in a way that you go with the flow. You work with your whatever you think you are, or whatever I think I am, whoever I think I am. or whatever thing I am. You just let that dust sort of settle. I'll be mimicking David Lynch. But I cannot, yeah. First I have to have wavy hair. I love his hair. Werner de Herzog said there was a man with the hair or something. Another great artist, Werner de Herzog. And so, as it settles, you can see that we cannot escape it, you know. We cannot escape the fact, therefore it's not escapism, for the fact that we need to, you know, relax, but not as in s'il vous plaît, but s'il vous plaît or something. If you would, you know. Wonderful way of putting it. If you would, if you could, if you should, I don't know. And so then it's possible, maybe. We might get the impression that now I can do something, now I see something. And I wasn't hallucinating about what I heard during in a rowdy coffee shop or something, you know. It should be said bar, you know. But I'm saying coffee shop or tea house. And so therefore, then I can finally focus on what seems settling, you know. Tulwar Chache Zöntecha. And then by the 39th verse, I hope I'm not going too fast. Yeah, it's okay pace. Yeah. Jigden dedang paro tuyang depa dangne namne dangne depa namne pongchoji then sedang jingdan ju paro tune nyasodu. Of course. Then once again, reminding ourselves that if I don't let this dust settle, if I don't let this wave be, you know, waves be, then it will just basically go on forever. As I said in the past few days, postponement, you know. It will just pile up. Pile up for now, according to the first lines, Jigdende, parol means next, you know. Both for now and for later, we will just pile up. Pile up, bills and bills, taxes and taxes, and expectations, appointments, agreements, all sorts of things, you know. Fatty liver, more LDL cholesterol. Yes. Well, let's work on it now. Yes, just take 10 minutes walk or something, to, at the very least, you know, so that I don't have to work on the next milligrams of cholesterol or something tomorrow, twice or more. Let's deal with it now. And so therefore, ndepa namne pongchoji, ndepa means desire. This, it's very desirous, yes, to think about tomorrow. It's very comforting. It's very relaxing to say tomorrow. But this will pung to ge, the last three Tibetan words of the 39th verse, from the second line, this will deceive us. This will instigate, pung as in instigate. This will create the damage and destroy everything. And the destruction, the feeling of the destruction, although okay, we can just say, so what, it's just cholesterol. So what, it's just bills, which it is, of course. But nevertheless, if you are a beginner, when it has become quite somewhat formidable, imposing, I like the word imposing or impose. It means a great shadow, There is another one from Game of Thrones, where there was this conversation taking place between Lord Varys and Tyrion, yeah? And so what is power they were talking about? But they didn't use the word imposing, And the conclusion was that it's a shadow, nothing more. Maybe it's a Machiavellian thing, I don't know. But nevertheless, it casts a great shadow, And so if you don't recognize that it's a shadow, nothing more, actually, it will become very heavy. Once again become a burden, a dead weight, Because you cannot reason with it, You cannot talk to it. There is no bargain. And so therefore it's literally dead weight. And so therefore this kind of lazy desire will instigate us as beginners, and it will ndirne sedan jingdanju, ndirne ndir or nde. It's what I was saying earlier, this or that, Thaye as in this, ndir, or ndi as in that, something a little bit closer. And so, therefore, this will then eventually, even though we think we're not capable of committing all kinds of crimes, it is possible, And then it'll basically put us in jail, yes. Of course, jail, or naraka, according to Tibetan pronunciation, but Sanskrit says narak, or in English, hell or something, The idea of imprisonment, life sentence, And so therefore, inferior way of living, all these things will be accumulated. Cause for them will be accumulated if you don't deal with it now, And so therefore, yes. Okay, now the subject has become very morbid, I think. So therefore, we can probably lighten it up a little bit with some questions, if you have any. Yes, the one with the nice hair.
Thank you very much. Your Holiness, thanks for inviting us here again and looking after us so well this week. It's always such a wonderful week. Always leave very inspired. I've been lucky enough to attend a few times over the years, and these question and answer sessions are really insightful. But there's quite a trend in the questions you mentioned yesterday, like the extreme questions of the old favourite, what is Mahamudra and what is enlightenment, and things like this. Khenpo Lobsang mentioned this morning that Buddha Sakyamuni himself said that we can't be carried there. We have to do the work ourselves to get to these realizations. You know, there's no cheat code. You can't just answer a question and take us to the final boss. So could you give us some advice and maybe help us find a way that we can just find joy in the process and motivate ourselves to do the work?
I think, if I'm correct, actually most of the answers were already, an answer to that was already given, both during this session already and during the previous sessions as well. Yeah. And particularly on the first day, I was sort of going back and forth about what this particular chapter was about. And so therefore, there is a method, of course, of build-up all the way to the punchline or the finale or the last boss fight. But Shantideva is, of course, still going along with it. Therefore, he has 10 chapters. But he didn't put the wisdom chapter as the 10th chapter, and that says a lot, also, I think. Otherwise, he could very easily have put the wisdom chapter as the 10th chapter, and just mention briefly here, there about the dedication. But the way he has the way he just went on about these, what we now see as 10 chapters, is so beautiful, that already now, as we speak, we are talking about the 10th chapter already, without knowing, actually. It's been eased into it. And should we arrive at the 10th chapter, it shouldn't be that exciting in a way, because you will feel like these subjects were already discussed in the previous chapters already. And we are here to repeat once again those previous chapters again, And then before we know it, says, let's dedicate the merit. Yes. And so therefore, to me, this says something, there's a beauty to it, which is that if we alarm ourselves too much of the boss fight, and then it becomes too commercial. It becomes too spicy to digest, too cheesy to talk about. Instead, why not ease into it? Because there is no Mara out there that we have to penetrate with the Vajra-like samadhi, harpoon, and the boss is destroyed, Now what do we do afterwards? You know, then we feel kind of useless in a way. Instead, we already discussed that. I mean, I don't know if you are a Zelda game fan. You know, Breath of Wild and Tears of Kingdom. Yes. It's my favorite. I have actually a Pura pad notebook. Yes. After every blood moon, the monsters rise back. Yes, and there's a monster also called Kilton or Chilton or something, who talks about the nature of the monsters. You know, that actually how they have an emotion, how they work, how they live, how they propagate, you know. And so, anyway, I won't go too far into that. But nevertheless, we are here to discuss with us, or me, you know, the most important figure, me, as we say, ego. Because the rest is just fiction, you know. But in this case, I want to talk about me, you know. We always say, yes, yes, yes. We're in a discussion, we're in a self-help group, but at the end of the day, we want to say, but what about me? Yes, what about my feeling? This is all about you, you know. And so therefore, Shantideva is already addressing that, you know, by pointing out that the so-called kleshas, karma, he hardly mentioned karma and klesha actually, you know. He just talked about daily habits, daily patterns, how the mind works. And through that, everything is dealt with, you know. It's like a good thief. You know? Before you know, the watch is gone, and the moment the thief begins to be honest about the watch, the pen is gone, and so on. And so therefore, so skillful, you know. We hardly talked about any destructive foes, actually. Yeah. And so in this case, if you think in that way, then it may be a new way of thinking, you know, that we don't have to have a boss fight, you know. It was all about discovering, as you said, the journey, in a way. When I play the Zelda game, the moment I latch on to my Nintendo Switch, I'm still stuck with the older version, even though it's now falling apart. But I'm still nostalgic, you know. I haven't switched to Switch 2. I'm still stuck with Switch 1. And the, I don't know what you call it, the rotating tool, it's come off every day. After a few sessions, I have pieces of that. But nevertheless, it's well, now lost the thought on my train. Sorry? Yeah, boss fight. Yeah, probably somewhere there, you know. Oh yes, journey. Yes, journey. I don't realize, I didn't really study what button is for jump, what button is for skydiving, you know. But even if it's after months of playing, the moment I do it, I don't tell myself, okay, now X is for that, Y is for that. Instead, I just go through, and before I know it, I'm a pro. I have defeated a lino easily, without taking any damage. That says something. It's just going and going and going, repeating and repeating. There is no boss fight. And so therefore, many good gamers of the Zelda games, they say, never finish the story. Never do the boss fight, Just keep repeating, and you will enjoy. Picking up the mushrooms. And yes, we don't. It means that it's not a tease, It's just that that excitement is there, But we don't have to play with that game of overcoming that aspect of boss fight and ending the game, and then look for what's next now. Is there a next Zelda, which we are always thinking about? But instead, we just enjoy. And there is so much to enjoy. And so, like that. That says something. Although this is just purely distraction, of course, we all know that, But if you want to make sense of these distractions, there is a way. And we can and then we can translate that into more and more of our daily habits, and begin to really make sense of everything. This is my feeling. There's one there. Oh, yes. Sorry, one here in the front. Now I'm just giving a chance to.
Dear Karmapa, thank you very much for your teachings. I think about after empowerment for White Tara, how for those who repeat words and give some promise to make this practice, how often we should do it, which way. It could be just mantra repetition, or it should be complete meditation of White Tara, especially if you make Nyondro and 16th Karmapa meditation and 8th Karmapa meditation, when better to place White Tara practice. Thank you.
I would say read this book more than anything else. Read this book. And I've said it yesterday. Read 4 lines, either from the very beginning, or you can draw a lucky draw, and see on the day which chapter opens, and then read 4 lines, and then think about that in a non-evasive way to oneself, and then see what you discover. Yet at the same time, tell yourself that this is a very, very dear person, friend, telling you something very honest. The more you do that, more it will reflect in the meditation of whether we are doing the Ngondro or any form of Guru Yoga or any form of idam yoga, it will reflect there. Yeah. And then we will not feel jumbled up into thinking, is this practice better? How do I manage it? Actually, along the line of your question, even I was trying to think also. And some of the thought that came to me was that, what I understood for now is that there is obviously benefit in terms of becoming acquainted with so many different practices. Yes, there is. Yeah. In terms of, I don't quite know when I wake up today or when I wake up tomorrow, if I'm alive, is that according to the way, the position I slept, what I ate last night, what I didn't eat last night, what I thought, what I didn't think, accordingly, by tomorrow morning, should I wake up, my thought process is completely unique, actually. I'm a completely different person. And that's what Shantideva was trying to say all the time. And so therefore, it's sort of like a different mood, if there is a consistency in me, in my being. And so therefore, then, according to that mood, meaning I woke up with a cough, or I woke up with a headache, and in that sense, immediately we will think of, paracetamol, Sinaris, which is a local paracetamol packaging, basically caffeine pills, yes, to steam water or something. Nevertheless, then if you have, a knee ache or something, or I have mental disturbance, I feel restless, I feel too tired. Each of those experiences, in terms of how I woke up to it, now I have not exactly an antidote, not purely an antidote, but instead it's a question for today, for that day. It's like saying that emotion popped up, or that physical experience popped up. It's fresh vegetable or fresh flower. And so therefore it's telling you that's your menu for the day. This is in season. Not so much as this is your problem, this is your challenge for the day. But instead it's like saying this is your menu for the day. So it's noodles time, Have a spoon for the soup, chopstick, if I recommend chopsticks. But you can use a fork, Telling yourself that this is a very soupy spaghetti, And accordingly, then it would be nice to have the according tools, And so each of the idam yogas, the white Tara, 8th Karmapa, 16th Karmapa, 399th Karmapa, I don't know, the 4 billion one, Who will be able to keep track of those things? Yes, completely meaningless. Yes, and so therefore, but at the same time, to have the luxury that I mean, at the end of the day, you can be very practical by saying, I use my hands, you know. No matter what kind of dish is being served today, which we do here, yes. And it's very tasty, very practical, provided that you have washed your hand. You know. And so therefore, you can be practical by just using your hand. But you can be also using other tools as well, which looks appropriate. You know, no problem. And so therefore, in this sense, don't feel in short too burdened by thinking what is the right thing to do. Instead, just wake up. When you wake up in the morning, you ask yourself, okay, first of all, I'm here again. Or I'm stuck again, you know. There we go again. And then at the same time, now, what kind of there or here or I am today? And then accordingly, then whatever tools you have for that day, you know, you use that. And therefore you will feel so wholesome actually. Yeah. Even if it's just one mantra of Medicine Buddha, let's say, for that day, because you have a headache, you know. It's appropriate. Yeah. And this is now, of course, we shouldn't misuse it, of course, by saying, okay, now for the whole day I have to recite the Medicine Buddha mantra, or I have to do a whole ritual of it, you know. Or to say, you know, I just do one mantra and that's it, you know. It's completely up to us. As we start the recitation, if you know a full sadhana, great. If you don't know the full sadhana, we just know the mantra, we just recite the mantra. As we are reciting the mantra, slowly, calmly, from your belly, you know, not just, you know, but from your, you know, like really, like really from the depth, okay, depth of yourself. You are really intimate, not personal, but intimate. And so therefore, as you do it, idea of time, everything will fall away. And you will miss your appointments for that day. It's possible. But nevertheless, you will not feel like you are doing something heavy and dutiful, you know. Instead, you will be in it. I'm not going to that extreme by saying you will fall into a trance and then say, oh, you know, and become a blue person or this or that. But what you will extract from that, as you do the recitation, as you visualize, if you know, if you have the sadhana, what will happen is that then through it, you will kind of accept at the end of the day that you actually have a headache. Yeah. And you will be, as they say, you know, at peace or in peace. I don't know what is the right way of putting. At peace, yes, at peace with it. You can feel the headache still, you know, it's very vibrant, you know. But the fear and the doubt of what it might mean, do I have a brain tumor or something, you know, all that will de-escalate, yeah. And you will be able to just focus on that one particular sensation, yes, which we are in doubt with, with this physical condition. And it's, if possible, if the fortune or condition would have it, we will feel like, wow, now this is one interesting headache, if I didn't wake up this morning, I would have missed out on this, And I cannot predict and say it will happen the day after tomorrow, because what if I don't wake up? And so therefore, you will really want to sort of participate in it, in this, not in this pain, but this sensation, this burning sensation. And you will feel like this is a focus of some sort of samadhi in a way. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going too far. In short, it's all right. You don't have to feel torn apart by this practice, that practice. Just do one. Yeah. But nevertheless, not to say, do not feel guilty that you didn't do the rest. Do not feel too ambitious to feel that I want to do everything, That's not required. Yeah. Just go one step at a time. Yes, then there's one.
Dear Holiness, I'm sorry if my question will be stupid, but I really want to ask you, for what all this samsara, if nothing exists, for what everything, all this, how did you say, prisons, mortuaries, losts, and if everything is a dream, for what everything?
Language is often misleading, yes. And so therefore we have to forgive ourselves. That's one of the first things. Poetically and dramatically put, we say dream-like. Yeah. And we don't say is, unless the situation calls for it. Otherwise, then we could have a lot of confusion. Again, like I said just now, you will feel torn and feel that I have to make a decision, I have to choose. And that's not a good place to be or position to be in. There is no choice. Not because there was a good choice and a bad choice, now you are at gunpoint. Not in that sense. We say space-like, dream-like, even in the English translation. This is very, very important to know. Then we will feel, okay, that was just an example, that was just a metaphor, that was a way to explain, But if you literally take it, then we will feel really difficult. That this is my friend, this is my enemy, this is good, this is bad, and therefore feel extremely torn apart. So I think what Shantideva was trying to say till now, and what he will continue to say, is basically repeating that as much as possible. That if you really think through, you will feel that wonderful to have all these sort of metaphors, about what is the good life, what is the bad life, who you can trust, who you cannot trust. But at the end of the day, they are just metaphors. None of them, not any of them, not even the cure, not even the antidote, is meant to exist. Really, really exist. And so therefore now I have to be on the winning side. I have to be on the in-group, nothing at all. Yeah. And therefore we will feel so liberated, so free, that I am a beginner, I accept that I'm a beginner, and therefore, I will not be judged, I will not be told, Instead, you will feel that, yes, there is great acceptance, Not that we should stay forever as a beginner, of course, but it will give us all the energy to, first of all, accept my ground, my background. And then on top, now since I'm not being watched, by CCTV camera every day, now I don't know if it exists, but there was a time, even in India, there was this show called Big Brother or something. And so therefore, one doesn't have to feel that way, And instead, you feel completely all right by being a beginner, And then, is it a dream, not dream? Is it good? Is it bad? We can go step by step, and then progress from there. Yeah. I hope I answered your question. So. Okay. Okay. Then last question.
Thank you, Karmapa. Up until maybe this week, it has been my understanding that part of a Bodhisattva's work is to be amongst people, to eventually come down from the mountain and be with those one might be averse to serve them, to work for them. And here we're reading, I want to go away into the woods. I want to avoid people who are like children to me. And maybe you could reckon that for us.
This is what I was trying to imply, warn, or say whatever I can from the very beginning, Because this is exactly what Shantideva was saying. Do not ever feel that you are abandoning bodhicitta. Because as a beginner, we don't quite know, what is really the real bodhicitta. Yes? Because we say, you don't have to practice, you do this, you do that, it's part of practice, being out there, being protective over your society, social duty, and so on is part of practice, As a general advice, yes, it's correct, But for beginners, it's strange to say beginner, It's probably a little bit sad to use the word beginner, as if we have to be taught, we have to be lectured, we have to be pushed, shoved. But at the moment, because of our upbringing, because of the way we are brought up, by the social current, we feel till now, for example, how young or old are you now? 37, yes. So let's say you entered kindergarten around 2, 3, okay. Let's say 3 or 4, So basically, when we became, each of us, when we became somehow communicative, then from that moment onwards till now, we have been educated and educated and educated, re-educated, rehabilitated. Basically conditioning, just like our hair. And so therefore, what do we know? All we know is this feeling that I am this, I am somebody, I feel this way, I think this way. Why? Because we were told to think that way. And if you don't, then they will discipline you, they will educate you, starting from your parents, yes, all the way. And then even if you feel now I have graduated, I have become somebody, I am finally free, we are still living through the residual effect, until the end of this physical existence, And so therefore, we cannot, even if you try to explain something that is completely beyond that box. That's why Shantideva is saying, think fresh, think new, but not too alarmingly, and slowly sliding it in terms of the last 30 years of your education or my education or our education was such that that's all we know, and we cannot talk too much about what is beyond that. And so my practice, my samadhi is all this, So therefore, all I want to do is I just want to discover it as part of doing something new, which we always feel, somehow this isn't right, but this is what is agreed by everybody, that I should do this and not that, yes? And so therefore, this is what we have to realize, As long as, or as progressively if we can, or gradually if we can accept this, at least on a theoretical level, not on an emotional level, but at least on a theoretical level, I think there is something strange happening, If we can accept that, then we can slowly, or gradually, or naturally, probably that's a better word, rather than saying slowly or gradually, naturally, we will be able to discover that this innate feeling in me that I want to do what I really want, even though society said don't, because it will destroy your reputation, it will destroy the social structure, and this and that. Nevertheless, there was that feeling, yes, and there is, to a certain degree at the moment, hopefully. And so, therefore, it's encouraging that, encouraging that uniqueness, so that you're not bulldozed, thoroughly, and having to postpone it till another lifetime or something. And so therefore, if we think that way, then we will be able to discover, how to say, because you see, it's not that difficult actually. All Shantideva is asking is to switch between Atma and Anatma, nothing else. The rest, he keeps everything the same order, actually. And so therefore there's nothing alarming at all. Because the social structure, sadly, is saying, do it for yourself, do it for yourself, you know. If you don't do it for yourself, nobody will. The rest are just hounds, you know, scavengers, predators, and so on. And so therefore they are scaring you, you know, saying, you didn't do this right, you didn't do that right. That's where you came short, that's where you went too far. And they are thinking they know what they're doing, without realizing that they have been educated that way too, actually, you know. And that's all they know, sadly, and therefore they are stuck with that, you know. Not that we have to be an anarchist against that and have a revolution, you know. That's also not the point. Yeah. No point in challenging against that. It's futile, you know. But at least for yourself, for your sanity, and if I can sort of change the way I think, you know, because I feel a strong sense of Atma, no matter how much I heard so much about Anatma, that if I can work with this, you know, give birth to something where it kind of sounds like Anatma or Bodhicitta, you know, if I keep feeding it, you know, grain by grain, you know, nothing much, not a whole banquet, you know, then it's possible that without alarming the so-called society, you know, or my surrounding, you may be able to actually convince them, actually, without trying to convince them. You may convince them. And that's the beauty of, I'm sorry, I'm not quoting another Bodhisattva, I'll be quoting another fellow human being, Hayao Miyazaki. And so in there is no villain, yes, actually. You feel like there's a villain, you know, and there the antagonist and the protagonist, you know. That feeling of that contrast is there, but at the same time, there isn't, actually, yes. At the end of the day, you can see that there is a mutual respect among the two, you know. Ashitake has his hand overcome by demon or parasite or whatever it's called. But he is both told, he himself also realizes that this is something I have to work with it for the rest of my life, you know. And I cannot cure it. Yeah. I cannot amputate myself. It's also pointless, you know. It will sort of mingle with me, sort of, so to speak. Yes. And that's the beauty of it. Yes. And so, in this sense, I'm not abandoning, or we are not abandoning. No one is abandoning, in this case, the bodhicitta, yeah, at all. Instead, it's not necessarily a postponement also, in fact. In fact, it's the opposite. It's fast forwarding, you know, making the most. Arrangiarsi or something. That's not Sanskrit. That's Italian. Arrangiarmi. making the most of it, you know. All I have is maybe a layover of the next flight, you know. Sure, during that time I can do all sorts of things, you know. But that's a gift, yes. That's why I like long layovers. If it's short, then you go on a panic mode, you know. You lose your luggage, nothing good happens. Whereas if you have long layovers, you don't miss your luggage. At the same time, you really get time to think. You know. Because no one is expecting anything in that moment, yes? And it's a gift. You didn't really buy that, you know. In fact, it's cheaper. and then, since there is no expectation, you really have time for yourself, you know. And so, like that, we can steal from ourselves, you know, lots of time. In fact, we just don't know. Yeah. We say 5 minutes coffee break, 5 minutes toilet break. You know, we can sit on that part and and think of good things. You know, yeah, and not be superstitious that I'm thinking something wonderful in a very disgraceful place or something, you know. In fact, actually, some of the monasteries I've visited, they in fact had, I don't remember the mantra, but there is a mantra also for pooping. Yes. You can look up in Google search, I think, yes. You will find it. And in fact, in one of the monasteries, that mantra was there. Would you believe it? And I was, more than visiting the monastery, I was actually happy to see that mantra, you know. My pooping has meaning now, you know. My toilet break has meaning now, you know. And so like that, actually we have so many solitudes, moments of solitude everywhere. For example, if there is a quarrel, let's say, you know, among friends, or a heated, you know, conversation or something. After some time, we use our common sense. We want both the parties to realize that I need some time to think. Yes, once again, right there, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, days, weeks. During the retreat of silence, you know, from each other. Ample time to once again reflect and practice, you know. And so not in any way we are running away from samsara, escapism, you know, going into escapism. But instead, we are, to say, very much dealing with it, in fact. Yeah. It just, we have to use our common sense to check every now and then, am I thinking about this because I want to run away, you know? I want to shut my ears and eyes and mind, you know? And is it for that reason I'm taking these pills or something, you know? Or drowning myself in booze, you know. And then if you ask yourselves, if I ask myself honestly, myself will also tell me the truth because I have nothing to hide from myself. Yes? And so as a result then I will know, you know, I'm not stupid, I'm not literally a beginner actually. It's just that I label myself as a beginner because of my habit over the last 30 years of thinking I'm just a kid. Yes? But the truth is, now I realize that I was never a kid. In fact, I was never stupid. and all I need to do is bounce back off myself, ask the simplest of questions, not the right question, but the simplest of questions. Yeah. And since I don't need to hide from myself, I will tell myself the truth. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so then this is it. We are stuck in meditation. Who knows how long this meditation is? A whole year? Yeah, we don't know. But let me just check if he ended on an auspicious note. Okay. What was the last verse? 39, okay. 39. Oh, it says it'll accumulate hell. How blasphemous. Before the hells, okay. But eventually we want hell. Okay, doesn't matter. Or the next one says something about sending emissaries. No, it doesn't end well. It says not bothering. So, okay. But in short, sorry. Now, how do we conclude this? I mean, conceptually, theoretically. Of course, we all have a good way of concluding this with Chandesic meditation. And I was asked also to recite a text of Monroe as well. Monroe Bechayur. So that's there, without needing for thought process and to conceptualize. There is actual doing involved. Mahamudra. Probably that's a good way to conclude. What is Mahamudra? Let's remind ourselves that impermanence was, or is, or it will always be one of the four seals, of Mahamudra. That's it. Mudra means seal or imprint, or an impression, reflection, bouncing back, anything, echo, implication, all these things, yes. And so the first and foremost of the four seals or the four Mahamudras is none other than impermanence. By saying all that comes together must go or fall apart or something. And if that's not it, then there is no Mother Mahamudra to speak of at all. And so therefore, if you are born in the animal realm, or if you think like an animal, which is another way to say, which Dr. Freud talked a lot about, behaving and thinking like an animal. Or if you're in a long haul holiday session, as we say, the lives of Indras and Brahmas and so on, which are in terms of merit unbelievable. We just cannot imagine. Even the most powerful of human beings, if you put together countless of them together, cannot compare to the merit of the Indras and Devas and Brahmas. Cannot. But nevertheless, their state, or if you idealize them, then their state is none other than a long, long haul of holiday. Yeah, that's it. Nothing to do, so bored. And so therefore, the only interesting to do is create problems. Hygienic problems, mostly. Yeah, it's the hygiene problem. Bacteria, For the fact that they reach those spaces or they accumulate those merit is all coming from racial issue, hygiene issue, and so on. Yeah. It's you see, it can become personal. Yeah. That's why saying Shantideva is saying, don't get personal, but very, very intimate, close. If you do, then we can see how we isolate ourselves, actually. By saying, I'm off to do something very interesting, but not knowing that it's escapism, And once you're there, of course, to get there, you need to be very intelligent. You need to be very calm, composed, meditative even, But once you're there, or the fact that you're there, or should one be there, could one be there, is it a possibility, is it a reality? It's possible. Why? Because we make it possible by thinking that is it. That is the life. That is life. This is it. And so therefore we become stuck. So only here we can think. Only here we can theoretically think through about the two different extreme ends. It's not just saying, the challenge of a vegetarian animal, or the opposite, non-vegetarian animal, and so on. We can just sort of multiply our animosity, to such a degree that there is no way to clean up the past or the mess, and one can only beget, one can only make it bigger and bigger and bigger, which is kind of what's happening nowadays. Yes. You cannot back off. You are stuck there now, and the only way out is to just go on, not knowing where the end will come. One just has to go on. And so therefore, we can see all this in appearance And we can understand that theoretically or conceptually or through our intellect. Sorry. And so therefore, now what is our meditation? Obviously, Mahamudra. But in this case, Mahamudra in a way that we cover the very first leg, that is emptiness. Because it will be too far to talk about, impermanence, right? Impermanence. Because it will be wrong to jump to emptiness, It's too far, it's too foreign. Instead, we are talking about emptiness, but in a version which we can see, which we can experience, which we can think, which is logical to us. And so therefore, we think about impermanence, impermanence, impermanence constantly. And impermanence begins from here, Emptiness is somewhere there, if you have to put a figure to it, And so if you begin from there, then we will feel like all the while I'm still here, And therefore emptiness will look so strange. Instead, if you work from here, then later on, if you talk about emptiness, it will be so easy. Because I know that this is what I try to, not to say convert, but translate as emptiness, mine. Me, emptiness, mine, me, impermanent, mine, emptiness sort of thing. And so if you go in that way, then it will make sense. Then Mahamudra has a place, or Mahamudra will take place, if you have to force it like that. Otherwise, there's no way to talk about. Nothing. No way. And so therefore, if you see it that way, then we will see that we realize that the 8th chapter is probably the most important of all, actually. And now you will have a whole year to read all the verses on your own, And you can have wonderful coffee breaks, sessions, WeChat groups, of all sorts, Not talking about these measly things, Been there, done that for all of you. Or will be there and will do those, at some point. But if the conversation can begin with this meditation or dhyana, and if you can remind yourself in the middle of a simple conversation about this, and if you can end your conversation before saying bye, or realizing that the pleasantry of saying goodbye later as an implication towards dhyana, then it will be very, very interesting. Then we will truly be able to meditate as one and move forward to what we say, wisdom, or jnana, from dhyana to jnana. And we will feel so natural, not alarmed. So this is my wish. I've had a wonderful privilege to be able to express these to many of you, and of course to all the viewers. All sorts of viewers must be there, And so therefore, I hope, if I didn't benefit you, I hope I entertain you. Which was Proximo's sort of encouragement. We are nothing but an entertainer. And I like that term, to have good sportsmanship, you have to realize yourself that you are just an entertainer. not going too far by saying you are, or I am a joker, but I'm an entertainer. So I hope I have entertained you enough. Yes. So thank you very much. Now let's focus on meditation of Chenrezig. And as I said, let's think of it as a way to dedicate our merit. We are the chariot of Chenrezig, the vehicle moving forward towards who or what, when, now, right now. Where? To all sentient beings. I'm coming to you. It's like saying I'm coming home. Nowhere else. There is nowhere I'd rather be but home. And home is the rest. Yes. You have one question about Shangri-La? Sorry.
I have one question about the Chenrezig meditation. I'm quite new, and there is one part that is not written in the text that I was told is part of the Mahakala. Or
which? Ah, okay.
I was wondering where I can find it.
You mean the Dharma protector practice? Yes. Yeah. That's what I was trying to refer to yesterday. What I was trying to explain yesterday. Yes, and that is in every time I have to be awkward when I use the term Vajrayana. It's funny, but nevertheless. According to this method, of Vajrayana, then we basically either decorate or we sort of have it's kind of like I was always saying, zooming in or zooming out, whichever way we feel comfortable. On the same subject, by doing so, then we will be able to see that, or we always say the three jewels, or the Holy Trinity, Mainly it's one, of course, Buddha, the enlightened state. Then when we try to describe that in an orderly fashion, then we make it explainable by saying the three roots, Tsawa Sum. And so therefore then Buddha is supposed to be a reference, or we can only refer to Buddha in a way through our spiritual friend, what we say teacher. Yeah. Guru is a really good term in Sanskrit, but it's been overrated at sometimes, and sometimes misused also. And so therefore probably teacher is for now an okay term. And then likewise the Dharma means Dharma is known as the expression of someone who is enlightened. An enlightened mind's expression is Dharma. And so there is no separation. It's not that someone enlightened is there, but there is a strange phenomenon of some material, non-material artifact lying somewhere under the Bodhi tree, something, And so therefore, and so therefore, of course, it could create all kinds of confusion. But it's the same, It's the expression. Now we feel something. I discover that through, for example, the dhyana practice, I for the first time realize something fresh, new, and once I compare and do a lot of research, I can see that it's true. It's the truth. And so now I want to say it out loud, but it doesn't come out right, sort of thing. Yes, it'll probably never come out right. That's always the case. But the Buddhas would have it. Their merit is such that even though they know the fact that they can never express it the right way, they can imply the right way. That's the beauty of it. Whereas in our case, even just to imply, we are not at the moment experienced enough. Whereas in their case, they are completely fluent, and so therefore they can give the best of implications. And so that's why we say dharma. And so therefore now we call that, from a Vajrayana's lens, we call that the idam yoga, or Ishtadeva yoga, Ishtadevata yoga. Means Buddha's expression or wish or aspiration, and my genuine, no matter how innocent I am, Buddha's aspiration, my aspiration is the same, actually. There is no difference. Yes. A baby's aspiration and a Buddha's aspiration is the same. And there is no agenda at all. And so therefore, from a baby or a Buddha's point of view, anything is good, And so therefore, if a baby is holding a knife or something, to them it's not a weapon. To them it's a very strange thing, fascinating thing. And so, so anyway, no, don't go too far. So therefore, Guru Yoga, in terms of Buddha, refuge of Buddha, then refuge of Dharma, in this case, then the Ishtadeva Yoga, and then the refuge of Sangha, yes, and that is, in this case, what we say, the Dhammapala, or Dhaka, or Dakini, yoga, And so, we have to be very careful when we use the term, for example, Dhammapala, or Dhaka, or Dakini, Otherwise, we will demean them very much. Kick them downstairs, And so therefore, whereas the assembly, or what we say, noble, realized ones, they are such that, I would say, they are merit on their own, and in terms of from our side, if you want to accumulate merit, there is nothing like it. And so therefore, if you want to sort of decorate this idea of Sangha, not just to say a group, It's not about a group, We say assembly, we say, collective body or something, but that's just an expression, Instead, what it means is that the merit is the most important thing, if you want to begin. Without merit, nothing can happen. It's saying we need credibility. If I'm not credible, sadly, even though I may have a good motivation and all that, if I don't have credibility, no one will listen to me. will pay attention, you know. And so in this case, it's a social thing that I need, or reputation or credibility is miraculous in a way. It's inevitable. So in this way, what we say, Sangha, all those, you know, whether they are private Buddhas, you know, or Bodhisattvas, doesn't matter. All those who are on that path, who are aiming towards to become fully enlightened, all those who are expressing the same way as the Buddhas, now they are the perfect sort of accomplishers, you know, that they will, by following their footsteps, you will never go wrong. Yeah? And in fact, since they are on a hurry, they are enjoying accumulating merit, I also enjoy. You know, it's the same expression. And so therefore, then we now describe them in a more dramatic way, in a more enthusiastic way by saying they are Dharmapalas, they are Dakas, they are heroes, heroines, you know. And so in that sense, then to those of us, if such dramatic expressions are meaningful, inspiring, we can go with that. Yeah. Then we can follow. Yeah. And so therefore now, what I was trying to say yesterday already was that the practice of Chenrezig, this particular one that we do, is very unique. It's almost like 2-in-1 sort of thing. It's both a Guru Yoga type of practice, at the same time it's also a Idam practice, you know. The implication of that it's like a Guru Yoga practice is that the Chenrezig is above. You are not the Chenrezig. You know, you are not visualizing yourself as Chenrezig. But you visualize yourself as yourself. So no hang-ups, you know, whether I'm good or I'm bad or nothing. Just me, good old me. And on top, but I see myself metaphorically as a vehicle, you know, as a chariot, as a wheel. That's why I'm saying moving forward, you know. And so then above me, or above all sentient beings, or all sentient beings are me, and therefore I have Chenrezig above, you know. And so therefore, both the Chenrezig that we visualize, or the very Chenrezig that we visualize is inseparable from what we say our spiritual friend, you know. So therefore, it's both Guru Yoga and Idam Yoga. Because I want to be compassionate, you know, just like my teacher, yes. And so both are accomplished, and so therefore the program would have it that there is a Madakma, the recitation of the Mahakala prayer. And so therefore I thought, okay, since all three are there, why not? You know, so that's how I described it, by saying that there is also the Dhammapala. And so therefore, please don't kick that downstairs, you know, by thinking, oh, this third party, this third leg, you know. It's the same, you know. If you have devotion to the teacher or the spiritual friend, then it shows that I have the same wish, which is the Idam. And I want that wish to be completely accomplished. And that will be expressed through the Sangha, or in this case, the Dharmapala.